With all the excitement of iOS 17 coming out in the last few days, I know many people have been playing around with Apple Notes and the new software and also on the iPad having all those widgets that are live. Yes, it's all fantastic. But it seems one of those applications has been missed, and I think this is where Apple have put a lot of effort in over the last year. The app I'm talking about is Apple Reminders. Now, Reminders has been around for quite some time, and yet it's never really received the love and care that Apple Notes has received, say, over the years. Well, that was until this year, because Apple have really given this application, Reminders, a huge boost. And today I want to go in and show you some of my favorite features that may have been around for a year or two, but some of my favorite new features that have come out, and I think it's going to show you what you can do with this brilliant application. Okay, so I'm going to take you into Reminders on my iPad. That's simply because it's a bigger screen than the iPhone, and also on macOS Sonoma. I never pronounce that right. I think it's Sonoma. I don't particularly like the interface. It's too small, the text is too small, and you wouldn't be able to see very well. But all intent and purposes, I can assure you that on the iPhone and macOS, this is going to work exactly the same. The features are all the same. So what you can see on the screen right now is my demo list that I've created to show this video. Now, normally you would not see what I'm showing you right here. You would not have work and personal. That's simply because those would be two separate lists that you would have in the sidebar. Now, before we go any further, I should just point out that if you notice on the left, I actually have some other lists. Now, this is exactly how I use Reminders. I use Reminders every day for things that I just don't want in my usual task manager, which is Todoist. Don't worry, guys, I'm not leaving my beloved Todoist, which I've been using for almost 10 years and I absolutely adore. That does the heavy lift. Reminders is exactly what it says on the tin. It's my Reminders application. It reminds me to do stuff. So I'm just going to go through what I'm using Reminders for, just for those of you who are curious. You'll notice at the top I've got bill reminders, bills to pay. Now the reason why I put these in here is simply because I love the way that Apple's notifications work on all my devices. On a day when I need to pay a bill, whether that's the credit card or gas bill or water bill or whatever, I will get at 9 a.m. a reminder that comes up on all my devices. It comes up on my iPad, it comes on my phone, and it comes up on my MacBook. I cannot miss it. I have no excuse for not remembering to pay that bill. Now, if we go a little bit further down, you'll see my tickler file. Now, the tickler file is one of my favorite ones. This comes straight out of the Getting Things Done book by David Allen. And essentially, this is my long-term reminders. Again, remember, I'm using this as a reminders application, not so much as a task manager. And you'll see here that I've got to renew my residency permit next year on the 1st of August. Actually, it's not the 1st of August. That's the date. It is actually, sorry, I get myself confused there. It is due on the 1st of August, but you'll notice that the date that it's set is the 19th of July. And that's simply because I need a couple of weeks to get the information together. My passport needs renewing in 2027, and I know being British, the British Passport Office is going to take at least 6 months to get my stuff through. So I've set up a reminder 6 months before. And I've got another one here, which is to get a friend of mine a Starbucks coffee mug from Seoul, or at least Korea, and I will give it to him next time I'm in Europe. And so, Tony, I hope you're not watching this because it's meant to be a surprise. But anyway, if you are, hello, Tony. So that's how I'm using my tickler file. I have a shared shopping list with my wife, and that's in there. And you'll notice that my shopping list, actually, this is a new feature in 2023 in the new operating system. Your shopping list actually automatically changes categorizes your different items that you would put on your grocery list or shopping list. Now, to do that, you do need to change something in the system. If you just long press on shopping, you will get show list information. Tap on that, and it says here list type. Now you'll see that almost halfway down above the colors. It says list type. You need to change that from standard to groceries, and then it will create the shopping list. Now, I love this particular list because I share it with my wife. As you can see underneath the list, it's shared with my wife. And also, I can use my Apple Watch to add stuff while I'm cooking, so I'm not, my hands are wet when I'm washing vegetables and so on. You know, I can just use my Apple Watch to send stuff to the shopping list, so like add broccoli to the shopping list or whatever. I can just do it directly from my phone. Hence the reason why, again, the shopping list is in Reminders. My wife has an iPhone as well, so she can add stuff to the shopping list. So those are the ways that I actually use Reminders every single day. Now what I want to do is, that's the first new feature by the way, is to show you that your grocery list can be categorized by the different items you buy. Let's move on into the demo list now. Now the demo list is what I've just set up just to show you some of these new features. So I've created some sections. I've created a work and a personal section. Now this is absolutely wonderful if I was just using this as my to-do list for today and I could just drag and drop stuff in there. That's wonderful, and dragging and dropping stuff is really simple. Now, if you look at the top here, this is done in list format. But again, if we go into the three dots at the top right-hand side underneath the battery, you will see view as columns. So if I tap that, it will now change to a column list. Now, the thing is, I've noticed something about the iPad is I can move by just tapping on the top left there, you can see I can bring it in and take out the list area, the sidebar, so I can take that out, and I could have many different columns across here. Now this is wonderful because you can see that I have right here a couple of items in the work with links to it. Now the first one is write a report on last week's conference. Now in there I've put in the notes section, so if I just open up this note, so we can just tap on that, and I can now say mark as complete. I can change the due date. I can add a flag like that, very simple. And again, all I'm doing is long pressing on the note. I can move to another column, or I can add my tags. So there's a lot of things that I can do within here. Now, one of the great things about this is if I go back to the list view, which is actually my preferred view, I'm more of a, that kind of chronological thinking, if you like. What I've noticed in here, I've got a YouTube video. So what I can do is if I tap on the task, you'll see that over on the right hand side, I get the I. What I've noticed is when you're in the column view, you don't get the I. It's not there. I can rename the column, but that's it. And by the way, when we're talking about columns, something that's really quite annoying by Apple, because they do this in Apple Notes as well, they have a central area where you can dump stuff in Notes. Well, now in your Reminders, we've got the same sort of thing. They just call it others. So you can add something into others. So if I tap on there and say do this task, and again, that's when what happens then is the I comes up. I can tap on that and it brings up all my options. So I can add a date and I can sort of say, okay, it's going to be today. So that's good. That's done. I can add a time, which I'm not going to do. Now, early reminders is a new feature as well. Now you can add this. So it's almost like having a start date, if you like, in your Reminders app, and you can do this 6 months before, 3 months before, 2 days before. This is something that I might actually use for my my tickler file, because I've got the custom here, so I can actually create my own one that if I want to. I don't particularly want to use early reminders, so that's okay. I can add a tag from here, so I can just tap in there. I've got simple tasks in here, so let's call this a work tag task. So I've done that. I can flag it and so on and so forth. That's it. That's really all I'm going to do. I've got a list here where I can now move this to another list. So I can move this to my inbox or bills to pay or whatever, but that's all done. So once I've put that there, I can click done, tap done, and no early reminder. That's okay. This is a work task. So I'm just going to move this, and I've just completed that. So double shake undo, and that brings that back. By the way, I hope you know that you can actually just shake your device, whether it's iPhone or iPad, and it will bring the task back. Now I can just tap this, hold this, and move this to my work list right there. And there you go, it's all in. So that's some of the things that you can do with the new reminders. If I tap on here, I can also, one thing that's new as well is customize the toolbar. So I can tap in there and I can now add image, add column, if I'm, add up there. As it happens, I'm quite happy just to leave the date, the send, I don't know where I'm sending it to, and the flag and the done. Now, one other task that I really want to share with you is this one here, which is continue writing book. Now, what I've done here is you'll see that it's got the pages icon down in the bottom right. Now, the great thing about this is I have put in the document that I'm going to use when I'm actually doing my writing of my book. Now, I'm writing this in pages, so all I have to do now is tap on the link, which is in the button, so I can tap on the icon and that will open up my document and I can just get on writing. Now, as you can see from the website address, that's taking you directly to iCloud. So even if I'm working on that document outside of reminders, it's always going to have a link back to that. Now, that's a whole separate video, how to link your iCloud documents to a reminder, but that is something that you can do. The other thing that I really like, and let's just go back, we got pre-order iPhone 15 here. If I just tap on this again, and we'll bring up the information. So just tap on that, bring up the information. You'll see that I've got a link, which the website address is just horrible. I mean, it's just a long list. I love the way that Apple have just put a little simple icon, the favicon, as we say, from the website is just there. Similarly, with this write report on the conference, you'll see that the website takes me to a YouTube video. And again, all I have to do, and I'll show you by way, just tap on that, and it will open up the document that I want. I can then use the top left there and go straight back to reminders, and it's all there. So there you go. That's just some of my favorite features of the new reminders. I think Apple have done a fantastic job. I love the way that it's laid out. It's really quite simple. And working on an iOS device, I have to say that reminders just looks fantastic. And you can put in the notes, you've got links in there, you can put documents in there. Absolutely wonderful layout now. And I think Apple have done a fantastic job on getting that done. So there you go. Hopefully that's given you some ideas. It may even motivate some of you to try out reminders, maybe not necessarily as your full-blown task manager, but certainly as what it's meant to be, which is a reminders app. Now, if you want to learn more about how you can set up reminders for using every single day, then the next video I suggest you watch is this one right here.